Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to NIL Office Hours with your boy, Luke Bonner, a.k.a. at Lukey Bonner, the best dad on the internet. We have been doing this twice a week now, Tuesdays and Thursdays. You know the routine. Basically started this getting a lot of questions from college athletes and their family members about what the hell is going on with name, image, and likeness. What can I do? It's my money and I want it now kind of thing. But I also don't want to lose my scholarship. Also important. So we decided to start these to have live discussions with many of you listening live. We'll also put these out as videos and probably cute little TikToks maybe as well, cut downs. So I'm super excited for today's guest. We have Tiffany Kelly. Tiffany is the founder and CEO at Story. Full disclosure, Story and Power Forward, my company, are both currently in the Techstars Sports Accelerator. So that means we are very tired with a lot going on. But super excited to have this discussion here with you today. Tiffany, welcome.
Hello. Thank you. So tired. Don't sleep.
Tiffany, would love just quick intro, background on yourself personally before we kind of dive in, on today's topic.
Totally. So I got my start at ESPN. I was a data scientist on the content side. So, little nerd, building algorithms behind the scenes. I got to ESPN after I kind of worked in a couple NBA front offices, doing the same thing, building metrics, calculating offensive, defensive efficiencies of players. Worked for the Heat for a little bit during the time we did the Dragic trade. I was like a sophomore in college. That was pretty fun. So yeah, built Fan Happiness Index at ESPN, kind of like haphazardly fell into media, wanted to work in an NBA front office for forever, but kind of went on the media side and just fell in love. And was interesting. At ESPN, we worked on all sports. It wasn't just basketball, so had to build algorithms in baseball too. That was really interesting. But while I was there, just kind of noticed creator economy and what it was doing to traditional media. Like, athletes just weren't working with us when it came to content anymore. Rightly so, right? Like, a lot of them had more eyeballs than some of the ESPN pages. So they just wanted to do their own content, do their own stories, and just noticed that. And then I ended up leaving 2019 at the top of the year, and then that summer is when the NCAA came out and said that they were thinking about it. And I was talking to athletic directors too, and I was like, oh, okay, this is actually happening. This is going to be a thing. It's not going to go away. And just started building Story from then.
So let's take a step back. You referenced the buzzword creator economy.
Yes.
For our listeners who maybe aren't as familiar with that term, what do you mean when you say creative economy?
Yeah. What is creator economy? Yeah, I honestly think it's somewhat like gig economy, right? So like gig economy is like Uber drivers, people having so many different jobs that they do instead of a full-time job, like corporate 9 to 5. And creator economy is gig economy because you get paid kind of doing content. And being a digital creator. People confuse it with influencers. Creators are influencers too sometimes because they have large audiences, and they can push product if they need to. But they're digital creators, whether it's video content, podcast content, newsletter content, blogs, whatever the content medium is. They're creating content and they're monetizing it either through advertisements or through you people paying subscriptions or pay-per-view. So that is what I would describe it as.
So obviously with the NIL rule changes, a lot of people, when speaking in generic terms, and this is a pet peeve of mine, think of NIL meaning athletes get to be influencers now. Hooray! They get to get the paid post on IG where all of their friends are happy for them, but don't really do anything for the brand that they're mentioning. But it's really so much more than that, right? It's like you have the right to yourself, really. And there's actually a number of different ways that you can activate this beyond kind of going after just random, endorsements, right? So what can you tell a little bit, your area of specialties, I think I just made up a word, of expertise is in the video space. So what kind of opportunities exist now for college athletes that previously didn't?
Yeah, so they can monetize video content where they couldn't before, whereas if they were putting a TikTok out, or if they were doing a YouTube video, or if they were streaming on Twitch, they couldn't monetize, but now they can monetize it. So that's kind of the big change that's happening. What's interesting though is there's so many rulings and changes, and just making sure that they're being careful when it comes to monetization. And we just put out a blog post about this, because of the NCAA rules, and because they're local, not being able to monetize from certain brands, depending on what university they're at. And then clearly can't monetize from alcohol, CBD, gambling, anything like that. Student athletes actually can't turn on platform monetization. So the normal thing to do as a creator.
Explain this to me. Explain the normal thing, the traditional way of when you say monetize video, what does that mean, right?
What does that mean? Yeah.
Now?
So normally, if you want to become a creator, do the whole TikTok thing, you would turn, you would go to your profile and turn on YouTube AdSense monetization, or you would turn on run ads on Instagram videos, or Facebook Watch, or TikTok. You would tell the platform that you want to make money from the advertisements that they want to run, but because that's the normal way to do it, but because
if you turn that on and then I get 100,000 TikTok followers and I have hilarious or just content that people want to consume. In this sense, anytime I post and I've activated monetization, some sort of pre-roll or some sort of advertisement is going to be overlaid on that, and I get paid what? How do I get paid on that? I guess, how does that work? Yeah, so YouTube and Facebook Watch, also Instagram TV, it's $18 per 1,000 ad views. That's kind of the baseline. The average of what gets paid out. But of course, if I'm on YouTube and I skip the ad as an end user, the creator actually doesn't get paid, which sucks because 70% of people skip ads. And that was the whole premise of creating Cure Story, because people they're going to watch ads more if they're done by the creator, if they're done by the athlete, because it's the same person that I'm watching. So that's kind of what we allow our student athletes and our creators to do, make money from their own advertisements inside of their videos. So it's original content, but then you're still able to monetize the free content for your audience just with your own advertisement talking about a brand for a minute, 2 minutes inside of the content. So you can do it that way. If it's not video, if it's podcast, newsletter, what have you, you can obviously use platforms like Anchor or Substack and just collect a subscription or a fee from people that want to pay you. So that's kind of what's currently in the market. So if I'm on any of those other platforms and I post a video with monetization on, I get 1 million views. It's $18 per 1,000 ad views. People have to make it people have to make it all the way to the end, right? So let's say I get 1 million that do that. That's 18 grand. Look at the big brain on me. I had my phone out. earlier to do that quick calculation. But that would be $18,000 for me off those million ad views. But I have no control or clue what that ad is. So I could be vegan Luke Bonner, and there's an ad for Tiffany's steaks or Tiffany's leather laid over that, and I have no idea. I'm just like, this is like a little bit even new to me. It's something like everyone always talks about, but I'm not sure many people like truly get into like how it actually works.
Yeah, exactly. So that YouTube, or YouTube or Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, or TikTok, or Facebook Watch, or Instagram, if you turn on ad monetization, they just immediately like put it into your account, and you don't have say so over what ads are playing. And just if we're looking at NCAA rules, just like black and white, based on what they said, student athletes can't make money from gambling, alcohol, CBD, any of those like problematic industries. Just what the NCAA deems is what they can't monetize.
Only the universities can partner with alcohol and gambling companies.
Exactly. And then there's a second layer where a university has come out and said, okay, student athletes, we have deals with these brands. You can't make money from brands that are competitive to these, right? University of Oklahoma came out with like 10 brands like Nike, Coca-Cola, like all of these brands, and any competitive brands. So their University of Oklahoma athletes cannot monetize from. And so that is just even more of an added layer, because the platforms are not going to track who's a student athlete and track where they go to school and then track what brands that school has, so they don't run competitive ads on top of that, for the athlete to then not get that monetization in their bank account. Like, that's not going to happen. So there's so craziness, but yes, if you are vegan and a leather ad could run and you're actually making money from things that you don't agree with.
That would be terrible. Is this so? Yeah. All right. So let's take this a level deeper. There's obviously large media companies that exist off of ad sales, right, and monetizing video, specifically of highlights and clips of college athletes and like AU tournaments, things like that. Are these the same tactics that those companies are using in general, or is that different?
So, like, if I don't know, if like an ESPN.
I'm not trying to name names. I'm not trying to name names over here.
So what is it? So are you asking what's the normal monetization model for a media conglomerate?
Yeah.
So
on social video.
Got it. Yep. So a lot of them actually, they have sponsors offline, right? So they have
sales teams. Yeah.
Yep. There's a whole programmatic team, programming that is just in charge of monetizing digital content. And that is just offline contract deals. And so the ads are actually like native inside of the video. There's like a banner, or there's a spot at the top of the content segment. They still have monetization turned on from, some of the media companies that I know. So they're still kind of making money from the platforms, but the bulk of their revenue comes from the contracts, from brands and sponsors that they have. And they just have like native spots inside of their content, which is, again, not trying to sell here, but what Curious Story is doing for like for an individual level.
Yeah, so that's like when you're, in March, if all of a sudden in your Twitter feed or something, you see, a highlight, like a buzzer beater or some sort of like highlight pops up by the official March Madness account, but then you notice in the bottom it'll say like sponsored by Lowe's or whoever, and there's like an ad before, so now
it's all native. Yeah,
that's all native. Okay, so yeah, has there been any instance of a player yet or any issues? I know like of an athlete monetizing through the traditional ways. Has that been, have you heard of any cases of that being blocked yet or issues at schools?
Yeah, no, I haven't seen any student athletes yet that have actually turned on monetization. Like there hasn't been any press or stories out where an athlete has gotten in trouble. I feel like a ton of them are just so hesitant right now and just making sure that, hence office hours, making sure that they understand the rules and just all the implications. I know that there was an article that just came out recently from Front Office Sports on how do you actually monitor all of this, like who's monitoring it, which I actually feel like isn't the right way to look at it, because it's like, hey, if you actually do the wrong thing, like, are you going to get in trouble? Like, I don't want people to look at it from that angle, because at some point this will get, this will become a well-oiled machine of actually figuring out how to monitor, and just the NCAA is going to come out eventually with ways for monitoring in the schools and compliance and things like that. And so I think it's just better to be safe at the end of the day. So I feel like a lot of student athletes, or probably the majority of them, haven't turned on platform monetization yet, just to make sure that they're not getting in trouble. And they're really only doing deals like on platforms or like through companies that they trust or brands that have reached out that they know or have an agent. They're like, okay, you can actually monetize from this company.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole other kind of like issue, right? Like, do you actually have your own right of publicity? You know, if everything you do needs to be run through compliance. And I mean, this is like a different soapbox thing for me to talk about, as in my experience as an athlete, like even before name, image, and likeness, I'm ancient. There's just basic stuff. And if there was ever even a question of, could this potentially be an issue from compliance standpoint, compliance will just say, don't do it, right? Because it's the risk as on the athlete is astronomical in the school, right? The school gets pretty severe punishments. So even if it's totally fine, if there's a question, athletes are generally going to be told like not to take advantage of an opportunity, which is, you know, BS in my opinion, but that is kind of the reality right now. In like similarly, even like, you know, if you think of like athletes with agents and things like that, not every college athlete has representation yet. That's a whole nother discussion too. But usually you're kind of coached on disclosing, you know, ads. And so without knowing that, it's also pretty easy to get in trouble, you know, with the FCC for not disclosing that something you're doing is a paid opportunity. So just another thing for athletes to think about. I am curious though, like, tell me a little bit about kind of your thoughts on best practices for anyone who is, you know, driving views and could turn that into a passive income stream by just being yourself, basically, right? That sounds like a pretty sweet deal. What are some what's like best practices there? I'm curious to hear about even what you're building and how that comes into play here.
Yeah, so I think that they should do similar to media companies and do native advertisements through their content. So two things. So native ad spots, and then I'll go into like how CuraStory protects.
Explain what you mean by native.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So great. So if you're doing, say that it's a workout video that you're doing. It's a workout video or day in the life. This is me in the bubble, or this is what I eat in a day. Whatever the content is, you work out, and then after you finish a set at like 3 minutes, you start talking about a brand. And then you get back to working out, right? So it's you. It could be another clip, or you could say, okay, now this video is sponsored by, you can have background music. Like, there are many different ways. The end user, your audience just has to know that they're watching an advertisement.
Hold on one second. I'm very thirsty. I think I'll have a sip of this San Pellegrino real quick.
Yes, but you would have to either have, when like the podcast plays again, you would probably have to have background music or like add a recording at the beginning, like, okay, now we're going to go into our sponsorship. Your audience just needs to know that they're watching an ad. That's the only thing. So that's what a native ad spot is, though. Like it's doing the advertisement. It's not like a YouTube ad that just runs on top. That's just completely random. So that's what I mean by native ad spot. So the two ways that I would recommend student athletes monetize if they have a really good audience is native ad spots in their content. And then either hopping on like a Patreon or something similar where they can actually get like support and tips, or like pay-per-view from their audience, because that's safe, right? Those are the only two things that I would recommend. Pay to post, I mean, you can do those. I just personally think, and I've seen it from creators and influencers that I know, you start to lose followers if you do pay to post too much, because you're just like pushing product all the time, and every single feed post or every single post that you do is about a company. So you just have to be extremely, extremely careful. And that's also why we built the Cure Story model the way that it is, because not only are our creators seeing like 5K on average per video based on the types of creators that we have, it's just a way more authentic viewing experience because it's original content at the end of the day. Like it's their content. They can reuse the same video clips 2 years from now and monetize them. The only thing that's sponsored is that 1 to 2 minute spot inside of the video or inside of the content. So, and end user, like audiences are way more likely to watch that because it's just natural, as you just kind of naturally go into an ad spot.
So, yeah. So how does that work? If I don't know, let's use my brother as an example. He used to have, he was the OG. I think he started this without realizing it, but he used to have a video series when he was on the Spurs called The Fundamentals of the Game with Coach B. It had serious views, but this is like pre all of that stuff because he's older than me. Let's say he was like Cure Story existed, these monetization tools existed.
Native spots, yeah.
Okay, so let's say he's making a video. He's going to post it to his YouTube. Explain to me the process of how that would work with Cure Story being part of that, and then where that video would then live to drive views to ultimately drive dollars.
Yeah, perfect. So the first thing I would say is our account setup process and how we actually protect athletes, because even pro athletes have offline contracts. Like even they have contracts with brands where they actually can't monetize from competitive brands. So the nice thing about Cure Story is when athletes and creators create their accounts, they can do two things. They can first browse all of the brands that we already have in our platform running campaigns, and they can add them to their account settings. So for example, if you're an athlete that has an offline contract, you're an ambassador for Beyond Meat, you browse, add Beyond Meat.
Big vegetarian theme today.
And then seriously. And then we block any competitive brands from bidding on your videos that are competitive to Beyond Meat. And there's a lot of back-end algorithms and things that we do to stop that. If you don't see any brands that you have relationships with that you can't have competing brands, then just set your account to review. That way you can accept or decline any ad spot bids that come in. It's just up to you as a creator to know what's competitive, what's not competitive. Just understand your contracts that you have offline. If you don't have any contracts, great, monetize from whoever and just accept all the ad spots that come in. So that's the first thing. The second thing, once you set up your account and that's done, you hook up all your social media accounts. You upload your fundamentals of the game content. You upload that like 7-minute video or 5-minute video to Cura Story. We're then automatically matching that video to brands that are running campaigns. So sticking with the Beyond Meat example, they are trying to target 25-year-olds on the West Coast. They have a budget. If your brother's video matches that, then an ad spot's going to come into your brother from Beyond Meat, and there's going to be a script, there's going to be a product link, there's going to be an affiliate link, and any other direction that he needs to film like a quality 1-minute to 2-minute talk about Beyond Meat. He records that, he uploads that to Cura Story, and then he just puts a time where he wants it to start. So if he naturally has a break at like 2 minutes in his fundamental of the game content, that he can put the ad there, overlay the music on top so it's like seamless, and then literally with one click, like put a description, title, with one click, he goes live or he posts it to YouTube, IGTV, Facebook Watch, and then we're just debiting the brand every 1,000 views across all of those channels, and then the money just shows up in his account, on his Cura Story account, and he just pays himself out.
So from the athlete's perspective, if you're already inclined to create something, right, to create video, it's kind of like well, why wouldn't you kind of look at this?
Yeah.
You don't have to accept a bid either if you don't like it. And from a brand's perspective, it's you get the association with a targeted audience, and you're paying on performance. That's the crux of the business?
That's perfect.
Cool.
And people are more likely to listen to your brother if they're watching the fundamentals of the game content, right?
I think it's timeless. I'm going to have to go back and watch that when we jump off here, I think. Look it up. It's on YouTube. It's Fundamentals of the Game with Coach B. You might see a extremely long hair and bearded version of myself as his Lithuanian correspondent. I would have some cameos here and there on that show while I was very, very sad playing in professional basketball in Klaipėda, Lithuania. I'm extremely famous in Eastern Europe still. Anyways, no, this is super, super insightful. Really interesting to get some insight into the world of video monetization, right? It's something people talk about, but I don't know if folks have in general like really dive into like how that all works. This has been a great lesson for me. Any final words of advice for college athletes or families of college athletes who are kind of looking at different avenues to maximize their name, image, like newfound name, image, and likeness rights?
Yeah, I would just make sure that you get representation that you trust at the end of the day. I know we didn't even talk about that today, but if you do need help kind of navigating the waters, like get representation that you can trust. Do your research. I mean, at Cura Story, we're very big on just like educating our creators, and just similar to this, right? Like I think that this is actually extremely important, and just listening and understanding. Talk to your coaches and ADs, and just get their second eyes on things. I would also say actually create content, because don't be the person that just only does pay-to-posts because you have so many followers. Like, don't do that. Actually create a brand for yourself. If that's right, like destroying Donald, the big YouTuber, former kicker, he does long-form video content, YouTube content, and that's something that he tells student athletes all the time. Actually, like, create a brand. And if your brand is workout videos, or if it's eating food, like mukbang, like whatever
it can
is,
evolve. It can evolve too, right? Trial and error.
It can always change.
Yep.
It can always change. Just really focus on that, and don't just kind of be this one trick pony that just only posts pay to posts and pushing brands, because that'll get annoying very quickly and you might lose your audience.
Right. It's like nobody would subscribe to a magazine that is only filled with ads, right?
Look, that is a perfect analogy, actually.
I actually would if it was like vintage ads, I think, but because those are sweet. But yeah, in general, I would.
That is such a good point.
Yeah.
I feel like, sorry, I might use that.
You can steal it. It's fine. You just have to make sure you properly annotate me for that one.
Because I always have to explain to people the difference between influencer marketing and like creators and like content and Cura Story. And that's literally it. I'm just like, there's a difference between a pay to post and then like original content with a native spot inside. Those are two completely different things. Genius.
You heard it here. Luke Bonner, genius. I'm adding that to my LinkedIn endorsements. Anyways, Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us. This has been awesome. To our lovely audience, we will stick around for a couple minutes. If you have any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat. We like to go offline for a few. If there aren't any questions, thank you all for joining us. You'll find me back here every Tuesday and Thursday, chumming it up with folks smarter than me to help you make the most of your name, image, and likeness while you are a college athlete. Because one day you will no longer be a college athlete, and you will be me. I got to work on the close. All right. Thanks, Tiffany.
Bye.